The sharp sound of metal grinding filled the air as Daniel's small exploration ship crashed through the dense atmosphere of Volta 5. Sparks flew from the damaged console. The shaking inside the cockpit was violent. Alarms screamed around him. His hands gripped the controls tightly, trying to steady the ship, but it was no use. The engines were failing fast. "Come on. Just hold a little longer," Daniel whispered to himself, but deep down, he knew he was going down. With a loud thud and clouds of dust rising around him, the ship finally crashed into the thick forest below. The force threw him forward against the straps, but luckily he remained alive. The world outside was quiet again, except for the gentle crackling of fires around the wreck. Daniel coughed as smoke filled the cabin. He quickly unbuckled himself and grabbed his emergency pack. The heat from the fires was intense. He had to get out quickly. Pushing open the side hatch, Daniel climbed out of the wreck. The alien forest was unlike anything he had ever seen. Huge. Trees with glowing blue leaves stretched towards the sky, and strange creatures moved quietly in the shadows. But Daniel had no time to admire the beauty of the planet. He had to find help or shelter. He started walking carefully, using his scanner to check for life signs. Suddenly, the device beeped. A strong signal was coming from nearby. Daniel followed the reading, moving quickly but cautiously through the forest. As he got closer, he heard a faint cry. It sounded like someone calling for help. His heart raced. He hurried forward and then stopped suddenly. In front of him was a broken alien hovercraft. It had crashed into a tree. Pieces of metal were scattered everywhere, and under part of the wreck, a small figure was trapped. Daniel ran closer. It was a young alien girl, no older than 10 years by human appearance. Her skin was pale blue with a slight purplish tone. Her eyes were large and filled with fear. She was pinned under a heavy metal beam, unable to move. "Don't worry, I'm here to help," Daniel said softly. Trying to calm her, the girl looked at him with wide eyes, surprised by his strange appearance but also comforted by his calm voice. She nodded weakly. Daniel quickly examined the wreck. The beam was heavy, but with the right angle he could move it. He pulled out a small tool from his emergency pack and placed it carefully under the beam to act as a lever. With great effort, he pushed down. His muscles burned, but the beam slowly lifted. The girl crawled out, her leg injured but not broken. As soon as she was free, Daniel let the beam drop and gently helped her sit up. "You're safe now," he said, offering her water from his pack. The girl took a small sip, still staring at him with curiosity and amazement. Before Daniel could say more, the sound of engines approached. Several large alien guards arrived, their weapons raised. Their armor shone under the strange light of the forest. Behind them stood a tall woman, clearly of high rank, wearing a long ceremonial robe. Daniel raised his hands, showing he was not a threat. "Who are you, human? What have you done to the princess?" One guard demanded. "Princess?" Daniel's eyes widened. He had just saved royalty without knowing it. The tall woman stepped forward. "Lower your weapons," she ordered. Her voice was calm but firm. The guards obeyed immediately. The woman looked at her daughter and then at Daniel. "You saved my child's life." Daniel nodded. "She was trapped. I just did what anyone would do." The queen studied him for a moment. "You may not understand what you have done, human. On our world, saving a royal life carries a great meaning." Before Daniel could ask more, the queen continued, "By our ancient tradition, you now owe a bond, one that cannot be broken." Daniel blinked, confused. "A bond?" "Yes," the queen said. "You will come with us to the palace. There you will learn what this means." Daniel looked at the princess, who now smiled at him shyly, her fear gone. The guards moved forward, but not as enemies. They respectfully guided Daniel toward their transport ship. As the craft lifted off into the sky, Daniel looked out at the alien landscape below, his mind filled with questions. He had come to explore this planet. Instead, he had walked into a tradition he knew nothing about. The transport ship hummed softly as it carried Daniel and the Valtorian party through the alien sky. Outside, the thick forest of Volta 5 faded. away, replaced by vast cities built with shining towers and graceful bridges. The colors of the buildings were unlike anything Daniel had seen before, shades of silver mixed with soft blues and greens that shimmered under the twin suns. Daniel sat quietly, still trying to understand what the Queen had meant by an unbreakable bond. His mind raced with questions, but he kept his gaze steady, watching the city from the window. Beside him sat Princess Lyra, her eyes bright with curiosity. She watched Daniel with a soft smile but said nothing. Daniel wondered what she thought of him, a strange human suddenly entering her world. The ship landed smoothly on a platform high above the city center. Guards opened the doors and Daniel stepped out, feeling the weight of many eyes on him. The palace was magnificent, tall pillars carved with ancient symbols, walls decorated with shining crystals, and floors that glowed faintly with soft light. Queen Serana waited for them at the entrance, her face calm and regal. She wore a long dress made of flowing fabric that changed colors as she moved. Her eyes held wisdom and power. "Daniel," she began, her voice steady, "you have saved my daughter's life. That alone makes you a hero. But here on Vaulter 5, it means more than just bravery." Daniel nodded, still unsure what to expect. "In our culture," the Queen continued, "saving a royal child creates a sacred bond called the Vyara link. It is a promise between two families, a promise to protect, honor, and support one another forever." Daniel frowned slightly. "But I don't know your ways or your people. I'm just a visitor here." "That is true," the Queen said kindly, "but the bond is not just between individuals. It is a connection between our worlds. By saving Lyra, you have become part of our family and part of Vaulter 5. Daniel looked at Lyra. Her eyes shone with hope and trust. He felt a strange warmth inside. For the first time since his crash, he felt a small sense of belonging. Queen Serana's voice softened. "This bond cannot be broken. It is stronger than any contract or law. To refuse it is to insult not only my family but the entire planet. But to accept it means honor, respect, and a future shared together." Daniel swallowed hard. The choice seemed simple, but the weight of it was heavy. "What happens if I say no?" he asked quietly. The Queen's expression turned serious. "Then you will be seen as disrespecting the royal family. It could bring danger to you and your people. Our laws are old and strong, and many will not understand a refusal." Daniel thought about his home, Earth, and his family waiting for him, but he also thought about the girl he saved, scared and trapped, needing him. He straightened up. "I want to understand your tradition. I want to learn. I will try to accept the bond." Queen Serana smiled with relief. "Good, then you will begin the rite of Vyara." At that moment, a group of palace attendants entered carrying a small, glowing object. It was a thin bracelet made of crystal threads, shining with soft blue light. "This bracelet is the symbol of the bond," the Queen explained. "Once placed on your wrist, it will connect you to Lyra and our people. It will remind you of your promise." Daniel took the bracelet carefully. It felt warm, almost alive in his hand. Lyra reached out and helped fasten it around his wrist. Their fingers brushed lightly, and Daniel felt a strange pulse, like a gentle heartbeat. "You are now linked," Lyra whispered. Daniel looked at the princess and smiled. "I won't let you down." Days passed as Daniel stayed in the palace. He was given a small room overlooking the city gardens. The atmosphere was peaceful, but Daniel could sense the quiet tension among some palace members. During meals, Daniel met nobles who watched him with cold eyes. Some whispered behind his back. They saw him as an outsider, a human who did not belong. One noble, a stern man named Varek, openly challenged Daniel. "You have no place here," Varek said sharply during a council meeting. "Our traditions must be respected. A human cannot simply join our royal family." Daniel held his ground. "I may be human, but I saved the princess's life. That is more than any of you have done." The room fell silent. The Queen raised her hand and spoke firmly. "Enough. Daniel is under my protection. You will show him respect." Despite the Queen's words, Daniel knew the noble's distrust would not disappear easily. Lyra became his guide through the palace and the customs of her people. She showed him the ancient libraries filled with holographic scrolls, taught him the basics of their language, and explained their history. Daniel was amazed by how much knowledge the Valtorians held. Their technology was advanced, yet they honored the old ways deeply. Honor, loyalty, and family were more important than power or wealth. In return, Daniel shared stories of Earth, of human life, and of his dreams. Lyra listened with wide eyes, fascinated by the differences and similarities between their worlds. One evening, as the twin suns set and painted the sky with colors of pink and orange, Daniel and Lyra walked in the palace gardens. "Do you really think I belong here?" Daniel asked quietly. Lyra smiled softly. "You saved me. That means more than blood or birth. You have a place here now, with me?" Daniel looked into her eyes and felt hope. The bond was not just a tradition, it was becoming something real. But outside the palace walls, shadows were growing. The nobles who opposed Daniel's presence were planning something. They did not want a human to hold such an important place. Their quiet whispers turned into secret meetings. Daniel was unaware of the danger that was coming. But he knew one thing for sure: his choice to accept the bond had changed everything. Days passed, and Daniel slowly adjusted to life inside the grand palace of Vaulter 5. Every morning, he woke to soft rays of sunlight filtering through large windows, and every evening, the twin moons bathed the city in gentle silver light. But despite the peaceful surroundings, Daniel felt the weight of responsibility heavier each day. Princess Lyra became his closest companion. She was a curious and intelligent girl, eager to learn about Earth and its people. At the same time, she wanted Daniel to understand Valtorian ways, their customs, beliefs, and history. One morning, Lyra led Daniel to the palace library. Unlike any library Daniel had seen before, it was a vast room filled with floating holographic books and glowing data spheres. The air smelled faintly of ancient parchment mixed with fresh energy. "Here, knowledge is kept safe," Lyra said proudly. "Our ancestors taught us to respect the past, even as we build the future." Daniel reached out and touched one holographic book. It unfolded with light, showing images and stories. He saw the history of the Valtorian people, great battles, noble leaders, and peaceful times. "It is beautiful," Daniel said. "Your people have a long story," Lyra nodded. "And now you are part of it." Daniel smiled, feeling a warm connection to this strange new world. But palace life was not always easy. Some nobles watched Daniel with suspicion and jealousy. They whispered in dark halls and questioned his presence. Daniel heard some of the rumors that he was an intruder, that he did not belong, that his bond with Lyra would weaken their traditions. One day, during a gathering in the palace hall, a stern noble named Varric spoke loudly. "We cannot allow a human to influence our future," he said. "Our culture is ancient. It must be protected." Queen Serana stood tall. "Daniel saved my daughter's life. That is a debt no one can repay but him. He is under my protection." Varric frowned but said no more. Daniel felt a mixture of pride and caution. He knew his position was fragile. Later, in the privacy of the garden, Lyra spoke to Daniel gently. "Don't let their words hurt you. You are here because you earned your place." Daniel looked around the garden. Strange flowers with soft blue petals bloomed everywhere. He took a deep breath. "I want to learn everything about your world and your people, and I want to share mine too." Lyra smiled and took his hand. "Then we will teach each other." Days turned into weeks. Daniel learned how to speak the Valtorian language better. Lyra listened to his stories of Earth, its oceans, mountains, cities, and people. She was fascinated by how humans face challenges with courage and hope. Daniel also learned about the Valtorian values, honor, loyalty, and family. Their society was built on strong bonds that connected not just individuals but whole communities. One afternoon, Lyra invited Daniel to join a traditional Valtorian ceremony. The ceremony celebrated the balance between technology and nature. Daniel watched as dancers moved gracefully in colorful robes, their movements telling stories of ancient spirits and cosmic harmony. After the ceremony, Lyra explained, "Our People believe that everything is connected. The stars, the earth, the machines, all parts of the same great cycle? Daniel nodded. On Earth, we call that balance. We try to protect nature while building new things. Lara's eyes sparkled. You understand better than most Voltorians. As their friendship grew, Daniel began to see the depth of Voltorian culture. It was not just about rules or power. It was about respect, connection, and hope for the future. But even as Daniel and Lyra grew closer, tension brewed within the palace walls. One evening, Daniel overheard voices in a dark hallway. He stepped closer and heard Varric speaking to a small group of nobles. The human is a threat. If we do not act, our traditions will be lost. Another voice added, We must remove him before the Queen's trust grows stronger. Daniel's heart pounded. Danger was near. He hurried back to his room and found Lyra waiting for him. Something is wrong, he said. Some nobles plan against me. Lyra's face grew serious. I will protect you, but we must be careful. Together, they decided to keep watch and prepare for what might come. Days later, Daniel's peaceful routine was shattered. During a trip outside the city walls to inspect the border, Daniel's group was ambushed. Masked mercenaries attacked suddenly, surrounding them with weapons. Daniel fought bravely but was captured and taken into the dense wildlands, a dangerous place where few dared to go. When Lyra heard of Daniel's disappearance, fear gripped her heart. She refused to wait, disobeying her mother's orders. She gathered a small group of loyal guards and set out into the wildlands to find him. Lyra's courage showed how strong their bond had become. Daniel, alone and injured in the wildlands, used every skill he had to survive. The alien forest was filled with strange creatures and hidden dangers, but he pushed forward, driven by hope and the thought of Lyra. After days of struggle, Lyra's search party finally found him. Their reunion was quiet but powerful, a promise that no matter what dangers came, they would face them together. As Daniel looked into Lyra's eyes, he realized the bond was more than a tradition. It was trust, friendship, and something deeper, a connection that crossed worlds. But their challenges were not over. The traitors within the palace still plotted, and Daniel knew he must be ready to protect the life he had saved, and the future he was building. After Daniel's return from the wildlands, the palace buzzed with quiet whispers and watchful eyes. Though the Queen's protection kept him safe in public, the shadows behind the scenes grew darker. Some nobles still saw Daniel as a threat to their power and traditions. They could not accept a human as part of the royal family. One evening, in a hidden chamber beneath the palace, several nobles gathered in secret. Their voices were low but urgent. Varric, the stern noble who had openly opposed Daniel, stood at the center. The human's presence weakens our traditions, he said grimly. If we allow him to stay, our bloodlines will be dishonored. Another noble, a woman named Solara, nodded. We must act before it is too late. The Queen's trust blinds her, but the rest of us see the truth. Varric's eyes burned with determination. We will remove him from this world. The wildlands are unforgiving. If we send him there, he will not survive. A murmur of agreement filled the room. Meanwhile, Daniel and Lyra tried to enjoy moments of peace. They spent time walking in the palace gardens and learning from one another. But Daniel knew the danger was real. His rescue had not ended the threats, it had only started them. One day, while studying ancient texts with Lyra, Daniel noticed a flicker of movement outside the window. Shadows moved quickly through the palace walls. He felt a chill. We're being watched, he said quietly. Lyra's face grew serious. I will speak to my mother. We must be careful. That night, Daniel's room was quiet, but outside, footsteps crept closer. Suddenly, a group of masked figures broke into the chamber. Daniel grabbed a nearby lamp and prepared to defend himself. But before he could react fully, the intruders grabbed him, binding his hands with strong cords. He struggled but was overpowered. The mercenaries moved fast and silent, determined to take him away. Daniel was dragged through secret passages beneath the palace. The walls were cold and damp. His heart pounded as he wondered where they would take him. After what felt like hours, the group reached a hidden exit. The heavy door opened onto the dark wildlands outside the city. The mercenaries shoved Daniel into the thick forest, then disappeared into the night. Alone, injured, and confused, Daniel pushed himself to his feet. The wildlands were dangerous-filled, with strange creatures and hidden traps. But Daniel refused to give up. Far away, Lyra waited anxiously for news. When the guards returned without Daniel, she knew something terrible had happened. Without hesitation, she gathered a small group of trusted warriors. "I will find him," she declared, "no matter the cost." Her friends tried to stop her, warning of the dangers, but Lyra's resolve was unbreakable. She led the search party into the wildlands under the pale lig. Of the twin moons, the forest was thick and mysterious. Strange sounds echoed through the trees. But Lyra pressed on, guided by hope and love. Meanwhile, Daniel used his survival skills to stay alive. He made a shelter from branches and leaves, tended to his wounds, and moved carefully to avoid dangerous animals. Each day was a test of endurance. The cold nights and hot days challenged his strength. But the thought of Lyra waiting for him gave him courage. One morning, Daniel spotted tracks in the mud, fresh footprints of his captors. He followed them, hoping they might lead to safety or to the city. At the same time, Lyra's search party found signs of Daniel's passage, broken branches, discarded items, and footprints. Her heart beat faster. "He's close," she said. After days of searching, Lyra's group finally spotted Daniel resting near a small stream. He was weak but alive. Lyra rushed forward, tears in her eyes. "You're safe now," she said softly, helping him up. Daniel smiled, overwhelmed by relief. "I knew you would come." The bond between them felt stronger than ever. They had faced danger and fear, but together they survived. Back in the city, the Queen learned of the noble's secret plot and the attempt to exile Daniel. She was furious. "Those who betray our family will face justice," she said sternly. The Queen ordered her guards to find and arrest the conspirators. The palace was filled with tension as traitors were taken away one by one. Daniel, though exhausted, felt grateful for Lyra's bravery and the Queen's protection. As he rested in the palace once more, he knew the fight was not over, but with his bond to Lyra and the Queen's trust, he was ready to face whatever came next. The wildlands of Vaulter 5 were unforgiving. Sharp rocks jutted from the earth, strange plants with thick vines twisted around trees, and the sounds of unseen creatures filled the dense air. Daniel had never faced anything like this before. Alone, injured, and tired, he knew he had to stay strong. His leg throbbed from the fall during the mercenary attack, but he refused to sit still. Every step was painful, yet every step brought him closer to safety or to help. Daniel remembered the basic survival lessons he had learned on Earth. He found clean water by following the soft flow of a stream and gathered edible fruits that Lyra had told him about during their lessons. He made a small shelter from fallen branches and leaves to protect himself from the cold nights. At times, loneliness threatened to overwhelm him. The vast silence of the wildlands made his thoughts wander to Earth, his family, his friends, the life he had left behind. But then he thought of Lara, brave and determined, searching for him. That thought gave him hope and strength. Meanwhile, back in the city, Princess Lyra refused to give up. Leading a small group of loyal guards, she pushed through the dense forest with a fierce determination. She used every skill she had learned, navigating by the stars and the stories of her people. One night, as they made camp near a glowing crystal formation, Lyra sat beside a small fire, her thoughts on Daniel. "You have to be alive," she whispered. "To the stars, I will find you no matter what." Her guards admired her courage but warned her to be careful. The wildlands were filled with dangerous wild beasts, poisonous plants, and hidden traps set by enemies. But Lyra's heart was strong. Back in the wildlands, Daniel's sharp senses caught faint noises, twigs snapping, low voices. He moved quietly toward the sounds, hoping they belonged to his rescuers. Suddenly, he saw shadows moving between the trees. Lyra's search party. "Daniel!" Lyra called softly, rushing to his side. He smiled weakly. "I'm here. You found me." She helped him to his feet and gently supported his weight. "We must get you back to the palace." As they moved slowly through the forest, Daniel noticed how much Lyra had grown in strength and wisdom. The girl he had saved was no longer just a frightened child. She was a leader willing to risk everything for those she cared about. Back at the palace, the queen received news of their success with relief. "Your bond is stronger than I imagined," she said to Daniel during a quiet moment. "Trust and loyalty are the true power of the Vyara link." Daniel looked at the queen and then at Lyra, who stood beside her mother. "I understand now. The bond is not just tradition. It is trust," the queen nodded. "And that trust will protect you both?" In the days that followed, Daniel recovered his strength. The palace healers used advanced technology to treat his wounds quickly. Daniel marveled at the blend of science and tradition the Valtorians possessed. As Daniel healed, the nobles who had opposed him faced justice. They were brought before the queen and the court. Their plot to exile Daniel was revealed, and they were stripped of their titles and influence. The queen's actions sent a clear message. The bond with Daniel was sacred and protected. With danger behind them, Daniel and Lyra focused on building a future together. They spent hours discussing how their two worlds might learn from each other and work as one. Daniel shared stories of Earth's technology, its challenges and its hopes. Lyra spoke of Vulture V's culture, its strengths, and the importance of honor. One afternoon, Daniel took Lyra to the palace observatory. Through powerful telescopes, they looked at the stars. "Your people's belief in connection makes sense," Daniel said softly. "We may be from different worlds, but we share the same sky." Lyra smiled. "Our bond is proof. It brought you here, and it will guide us forward." Their friendship deepened, filled with respect and understanding. The Vyara link was no longer just a law, it was a promise between two hearts and two worlds. But Daniel knew their journey was only beginning. The challenges of uniting humans and Valtorians, the lingering distrust among some nobles, and the mysteries of Vulture V still awaited. Together, Daniel and Lyra were ready to face them, as partners, as friends, as bonded by a promise that could never be broken. The day of the royal bonding ceremony arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze. The city of Vulture V was alive with excitement. Banners in soft blue and silver flew from tall poles, and citizens gathered in the great square to witness the important event. It was a rare moment. A human and a Valtorian princess would be officially joined by the ancient Vyara link. Inside the palace, Daniel stood before Queen Serana and the assembled nobles. His heart pounded with nervousness and pride. He looked at Princess Lyra, who smiled warmly, her eyes shining with confidence and hope. The queen began the ceremony with a calm voice that echoed through the grand hall. "Today we honor the bond that has saved a life and brought together two worlds. Daniel, you have accepted our tradition and shown courage beyond measure. By joining this bond, you promise loyalty, honor, and respect to the Valtorian people." Daniel stepped forward. "I accept this bond with all my heart. I will honor it always." Next, Lyra spoke softly but clearly. "I welcome you, Daniel, as my bonded companion. Together we will face the future with strength and hope." The queen then presented the ancient Vyara bracelet, a delicate band woven from crystal threads that shimmered in the light. As Daniel and Lyra placed the bracelets on each other's wrists, a soft pulse of blue light connected them, a symbol of their unbreakable promise. The nobles watched in silence, some with admiration, others with quiet hesitation. Yet the queen's firm gaze reminded them all of the importance of this moment. After the ceremony, the palace opened its doors for a grand celebration. Music filled the air, and dancers moved gracefully in colorful robes. The city rejoiced in the hope that this bond brought a new beginning for humans and Valtorians alike. Daniel mingled with the guests, answering questions about Earth and sharing stories of his journey. Many nobles who had once doubted him now approached with respect and curiosity. One older noble named Turin spoke kindly. "You have brought new light to our traditions, Daniel. It is clear you are not just a visitor, but part of our future." Daniel smiled warmly. "I am honored to be here. Together we can learn and grow." As the sun set and the stars appeared in the twin skies, Daniel and Lyra found a quiet moment in the palace gardens. The soft glow of bioluminescent flowers surrounded them. Do you feel different now? Lyra asked with a gentle smile. Daniel looked at the bracelet on his wrist. Yes, I feel like I belong here, not just because of the bond, but because of you. Lyra reached out and took his hand. We will face many challenges, but together we are stronger. The bond between them was no longer just a symbol. It was a real connection built on trust, respect, and growing friendship. In the days that followed, Daniel was given an official role ambassador between Earth and Vulture 5. His task was to help build understanding and cooperation between the two worlds. It was a great honor and a heavy responsibility. He met with Vulturian leaders and Earth representatives, working to find common ground. It was not always easy. Differences in culture, language, and ideas created challenges. But Daniel believed in the power of connection. Princess Lyra supported him every step of the way. Together, they created programs to share knowledge, culture, and friendship. Not everyone accepted these changes immediately. Some nobles still whispered doubts, and some citizens were wary of the human influence. One day, Daniel received a message warning him of secret meetings held by those opposed to the bond. But Daniel did not fear. He knew the bond was stronger than fear or hate. With Lyra and Queen Serana's support, he worked to bring light to the darkest doubts. Months passed. The city of Vulture 5 slowly opened its heart to change. The bond between Daniel and Lyra became a symbol of hope, proof that even the oldest traditions could grow to welcome new ideas. On a clear night, Daniel stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Lyra joined him, her hand in his. "Do you ever miss Earth?" she asked softly. Daniel smiled. "Sometimes, but now this is home." "Because of you, because of our bond," Lyra smiled back. "And because of you, I see a future full of promise." They looked up at the stars together, two worlds, connected by a bond that could never be broken. The days following the royal ceremony were filled with hope and new beginnings. Daniel had fully embraced his role as a bridge between Earth and Vulture 5. Every morning, he met with scientists, diplomats, and leaders from both worlds, discussing ways to share knowledge and build friendship. Princess Lyra stood proudly by his side. She was no longer just the young girl he had saved, but a strong leader ready to guide her people into a new era. Despite the progress, challenges remained. Some Vulturian nobles still whispered doubts in hidden corners. They were wary of change and afraid of losing old traditions. But the people, especially the younger generation, began to welcome the new friendship between humans and Vulturians. One afternoon, Daniel and Lyra walked through the city market. The streets were lively with merchants selling exotic fruits, colorful fabrics, and advanced gadgets. Children played games that mixed Earth sports with Vulturian traditions. Daniel smiled, watching a group of children learn to play a game he had taught them: soccer, a human sport. Lyra laughed as she cheered for a young player. "Our worlds are coming together," she said softly. Daniel nodded. "It's because of the bond we share. It's stronger than anything else." That evening they returned to the palace gardens. Under the soft glow of bioluminescent flowers, Daniel looked up at the twin moons. "I never imagined I would find a home so far from Earth," he said quietly. Lyra took his hand. "Home is where the heart is." Their bond was more than tradition. It was a real connection of trust, respect, and friendship. Together they had overcome danger and doubt. Together they would build a future where humans and Vulturians could live and grow side by side. Queen Serana joined them, her eyes shining with pride. "You have done well, Daniel. Your courage and honor have changed our world." Daniel bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I could not have done it without Lyra's strength." The Queen smiled. "The bond you share is a beacon for. Oh, it shows that kindness and courage can unite even the most different worlds." As months passed, trade routes opened between Earth and Vulture 5. Scientists exchanged ideas, artists shared their creations, and students learned each other's languages. Daniel often thought back to the day he crash-landed on this distant planet. What had begun as an accident had become a journey of friendship and hope. One clear night, Daniel and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the stars. The sky was vast and filled with endless possibilities. Do you think our bond will change the universe? Daniel asked. Lyra smiled. I believe it already has. Their hands tightened in each other's grip. Two souls connected by fate and choice. The story of Daniel and Lara became a legend on Vulture 5, a story of bravery, trust, and a bond that could never be broken. It inspired generations to come, proving that even in a universe filled with differences, kindness and honor could build bridges between worlds. And as Daniel looked at the stars, he knew this was only the beginning. Together they would face whatever came next, united, strong, and forever bonded.